And welcome back to the Cranky Ducklings broadcast. And again, it is, oh god, what's going on? Once again, unfortunately, we just as a reminder, we won't be casting the Tenacious Turtle Tusk. We will be hosting it today, but we will be postponing it to a later date instead. And yeah, hopefully by then we're able to actually run it, we're able to host it, we're able to have our event. In the meantime, it is time for some Duckling viewer replays, and this is going to be a little bit different. I think actually, now that I think about it, this may be our first batch of viewer replays that are on the new patch. Last week we ended up casting some games from Frost, and no, sorry, Chase's replay was on the new patch. Yeah, and Frost as well, actually, now that I think about it. So okay, gonna be our second batch of replays on the new patch, on the new maps. Definitely gonna be looking forward to it. And yeah, it's been a while since we've been able to cover them. They've been slowly accumulating. We've got 4 so far. We've got 4 replays to go over. And Sylor actually, you know, a fan, a supporter in the chat, fellow subscriber even, did end up redeeming a couple of replay casts last week, but actually didn't send us anything in. Sylor did apologize, said like, oh, he was sick at the time, he wasn't able to submit, but we do have a couple of replays to go over, so I'm more than happy to, because look, it wouldn't be a Sunday morning if we didn't get to cast some StarCraft. Okay, it doesn't feel right not to cast some StarCraft. So let us go. It is going to be a ZvT here between a Sylor and GuRuSkiLLs. The thing that I'm most interested in actually is that the title of this replay, it's a bit of a series here with these two. It's titled The Ego. I don't know what that means. Should I be concerned? Maybe, potentially, as we get into our first game. Oh, actually, it's a ZV random. Interesting. A random that happens to roll Terran. Let's go. Oh my god. Spawning! In the top left hand corner of Site Delta, we have the red Terran player. Typically rolling as random, rolling Terran here, it is GuRuSkiLLs. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner, we have his opponent, we have our fellow viewer. Oh my, what is... Is this Heart of the Swarm? What's going on, Papi? We have the lovely viewer in the chat, we have... some know him as Sir Mix-a-Lot, but it is Sylor. Okay, I don't want to be too judgmental on what's going on here, but double extractor tricks, typically nowadays you only see extractor tricks like that if we forgot our first overlord, but I have to imagine this was intentional from Sylor. Very old school. Extractor trick openers used to be a thing back in the day. I remember like early Heart of the Swarm, there were builds that used to incorporate them. Just caught me very off guard. Caught me very off guard to see that here. It is going to be a hatch gas pool variation out of our Zerg player. Meanwhile, across the map, remember, Sylor actually doesn't know hold on, I can actually fix this just to make things a little bit easier. But Sylor doesn't know it's Terran. Remember, we did have a random player as the opponent, so Sylor's not fully aware of what is going on. Bam, there we go. Beautiful. Back at home, it's going to be a Marine first opener. So typically when we're on the ladder and when we face off against these random players, I mean, usually you're on edge and usually you're assuming that they're going to either cheese the hell out of you or play Skytoss or play mech. Or that's typically like what's going through your mind when you're up against a random player. Regardless, I believe the Overlord will confirm the Marine. Overlord should be able to make it safely to this pillar without too much issue. Overlord's going to be taking a lot of hits, but should be able to make it nonetheless. Oh my... Okay, we're good. I was like, do we throw down that third before the spawning pool? But it's still good. It's still good here. No, we ever shoot! No! Oh god. Oh, 10 HP Overlord. We overshot the pillar a little bit, but we got here in time. The Overlord is going to be safe. As a reminder, it is a Marine first opener here from Guru, and we are going into our factory follow-up as well. So everything's looking quite normal. The downside here is that Guru is playing quite greedy. Oh my. This can't be. Is that worth it? Maybe. As we do lift our CC over for a moment just to kill the Overlord. Now, the downside of what Guru is doing right now is that there was no SCV scout. There was no Reaper scout as well. So Guru is very in the dark. And I'm loving what Sylor's doing, taking advantage of the build, taking advantage of the lack of scouting that this Terran player has. And we're going straight for a Roach Horn. We're skipping Ling speed entirely, using our gas just for a Roach Rush. Not the fastest Roach Horn, definitely. It is a little bit later than we otherwise could have seen if we were just that much more aggressive. But regardless, I like the idea here from Sylor. I appreciate it. Evo Chambers thrown down, back at home. Oh god, yeah, that makes sense. If it's a random player, second factory puppy. I'm shocked that we didn't go double Cyclone first, I'll be honest. I'm shocked that we went Hellions to begin with, and then now we're getting into... Now we get working towards the Cyclones. Okay. We have Hellions for map control initially. The reason why I don't like Hellions first is that this early on there isn't link speed. So if we went double Cyclone, we could even hunt down Overlords. Like, we could probably hunt down at least this Overlord here in between the bases, maybe this Overlord here as well. Like, there's a lot of potential for the first two Cyclones, and then you get the Hellions afterwards to support your Cyclones and to keep them safe against the Lings. As we do catch a transferring worker, but we have queens in position. These Hellions, they're not going to find too much more damage. So I think there was more potential with this. This is also why Cyclone openers have been quite common, even amongst some of the Korean Terran players, like Cure, for example. I know Gumiho has been playing around a lot with it as well. Like, even at the highest level of play, going for a factory reactor into two Cyclones has been quite trendy. Just two, though. Just two. But of course, behind this, we're committing even further. Looking at the vision, Sylor hasn't seen too much. He may have seen the factory, the additional factory on the way, as the roaches have arrived. And Sylor, it looks like, has only made the roaches defensively. We have +1 range on the way, and we went straight into a lair for roach speed. Roach speed hasn't been researched yet, but I assumed that Sylor was going to be rushing, like working towards like a big roach push. But instead, we're kind of taking a more defensive approach. Which is interesting. The roaches are going to be able to get the Hellions at least, but oh, these Cyclones are going to bully the roaches back. Ay. Big overextension out of Sylor. We do bleed out a couple of these roaches. The queens have arrived. Clutch transfuse. Very clutch transfuse on the roach, as Sylor is able to hold on and preserve his units. But yeah, a little bit surprising to me, at least, that we are just kind of taking a more conservative approach here. Just building up our forces, droning up, saturating our bases here on 2, on 3 bases, working eventually on additional gases to be able to afford all these roaches. And here comes the rest of the army. Personally, in TVZ, if we're playing Roach, I still would appreciate Ling speed. Lings do have their place in this matchup, especially against Cyclones. Like, Lings do a great job at locking Cyclones down, at getting surrounds, and supporting the Roach army. So yeah, I would have appreciated at least that to be thought of, but for now it is just Roach Queen, and we're just doubling down on 1/1 upgrades here, going for Carapace as well. A really interesting choice to go this Roach heavy and this committed into just pure Roach. We have Burrow on the way, Papi. Okay, Burrow potentially tunneling claws as well. In general, I feel like Burrow is really good against mech, just because if there's ever like a Hellion run by that gets in, if we Burrow all the drones, then it's a great way to preserve our units and to keep them alive against those Hellions. But here we go, Guru's going to be pushing forward. He does have a pretty hefty amount of Cyclones, and honestly, he could try to overwhelm this army, but Guru, he's not liking his chances. He's backing off behind this. 3rd CC is thrown down. We're getting into a 4 factory production, just cranking out even more Cyclones. And honestly, Guru is looking to snowball out of control. Uh-oh. Well, does bleed out a Cyclone in the end, but in general, like, this army is looking pretty terrifying. The upgrades are kicking in for Sylor. I definitely have to bring that up, of course, and that will mean that these units are quite a little bit more beefy, especially with Carapace. They can add a little bit more DPS, and here we go, the Cyclones are pushing on forward once again. Now, they are glass cannons, they are very fragile units. Shout out to the turtle. Ah, it's beautiful. Shout out to the turtle in the end as the Cyclones are pushing on forward. And they will get a lock on a queen. The transfuse. The transfuse, Bobby, keeping the queen alive. But again, I feel like Guru could have been more assertive. A couple of times here and there, we've been seeing some moments where Sylor hasn't had too much of an army, and Guru's been very tentative. Guru has been very tentative about pushing too far onto creep. Am I crazy? Are we like missing lock? Are they... Something's going on here. Are we just like, are we move committing the Cyclones? There's been a couple of engagements where the lock-ons just haven't been going up. Here we go, we do end up pushing forward. Almost getting a queen as well. Behind this, Silo working towards an infestation bit. Yo, infestors on the way, let's go. But even here, for example, only one of the Cyclones got a lock-on. It was, it's happened a couple of times. Now Guru, yeah, is going to be just kiting back here, trading with the army. I'm not too fond of this, but Guru is just going pure Cyclone at this point. Yeah, I mean, so because of the shorter range of lock-on, Cyclones actually get in each other's way as well, depending on how congested the area is, which is less than ideal. And again, this is just a very fragile army. One wrong step, one wrong move, and Guru will lose his entire army. He will lose everything, so he does have to be quite careful here. As here we go, we do see Sylor just trying to bait him onto creep. We're going to be committing to a fight, and already a lot of Cyclones are going down. Oh, even the bile connecting as well. Finally, we do have a tank. We are kind of switching into tank production, which I do appreciate. Sylor having the wherewithal to go for a bit of a roach run by, but it does run into reinforcements. This does force Guru back for a moment, give Sylor a little bit of breathing room. Sylor has been lacking creep shred, which is a little bit concerning, but oh, we do have those infestors on the way. I saw the hive. I was like, are we really getting the infestation before hive tech? But there we go. Infestors are also in production, and again, they will help lock down this army. It will help clean it up. Link speed being... Oh, let's go. Link speed being researched to help support the Roach Ravager. Guru opting to push through the center of the map. A really bold move here out of our Terran player. Those tanks are looking quite exposed, but we won't quite commit. We're going for it. Lings, they come in from behind. They get on top of the tanks. Every tank is going to be going down. We're getting on top of the Cyclones as well. The Infestors aren't quite here yet, but you can see how well these Lings do at just forcing the lock-ons, at closing the distance. I'm afraid to look here, but 21 Cyclones have gone down. That's a lot of gas. Look at the resources lost here. Over 1,000 gas down the drain for the Terran. Expensive losses. The Terran is working on their 4th base, and Sylor is lacking some workers here. We seem to be pretty committed. We're basically on a 3-base saturation, but likewise, the Terran player doesn't have the best economy either. As Sylor is pushing on through, once again taking down even more of these Cyclones. We do go for the burrow. Cheeky move. Infestors have arrived, and I'm waiting for the fungal, Papi. Show us the fungal. We're getting there, we're getting there. Scan, of course, does reveal it ahead of time. Fungal will connect. Sylor's just waiting for the opportune moment. We do see Guru double expanding, but the worker count isn't quite there to actually saturate these bases. So sure, we may have a lot of CCs on the way, but again, Guru isn't taking full advantage of them. As back at home, we're working on +3 range, working on +1 melee, adrenal glands as well. I do appreciate that we're now working on melee upgrades. Carapace doesn't really add too much value here, especially against mech. It may against Cyclones, but against tank, definitely not. Oh, as Guru's economy already wasn't ideal to begin with, and a lot of SCVs have been pulled off the mineral line to just try to top up and repair these Cyclones. Oh, Dropper Lord's on the way for Sylor. Let's go. Gonna try and pull apart the army here of Guru. The tank count is getting concerning at this point. We're up to 5 tanks, and if they're sieged up, if they're in position, it is gonna become quite difficult to push into this third. That's if the tanks get in position, though. For the time being, they are maneuvering with the army. One of those tanks left very exposed, and it should go down. Infestors are peeled off to the right hand side. Good fungal here on a big chunk of those cyclones. The chain fungal as well. And this is going to be the fight that Sylor really was looking for. He gets on top of the tanks once again, and he cleans up the entire army. Guru, like cyclones, they have their place in ZvT, but again, I'm not too fond of just going pure cyclone at this point. I do think that they're a good harassing unit for map control, but really you want to be building up a more robust mech army with tanks. And with tanks. Regardless, Sylor, he gets the fight, he takes down the army, breaks the third base, and at this point he is miles ahead. Sylor is on 80 workers, he's amassing more lings and roaches, he's kept most of his infestors alive for fungals, and there just isn't much more that Guru can do. And I can understand why Sylor would want to send in this replay, because you know what, especially in the new patch, you want to flex a little bit when you kill Mass Cyclone. You want to... Ay. They're animals, Poppy. They're animals. As there's only one Cyclone remaining, the natural base is compromised. The fourth is an orbital, not a planetary. Bold move here from the Terran. And it just means that it's just another vulnerable location that Sylor can take advantage of. Oh, mate. Sylor, Poppy, what's going on? Okay, this is why Sylor named this the Eager. Shaking my head. Ay. Este Sylor. Is gonna lose his army, but at this Sylor actually isn't macroing back at home. But he has a bank, so as long as he spends his lava, he should be fine. There we go. 23 mutas are on the way. And Sylor should have enough to end this, or to close out this game. Even though, like, these Hellions, they could actually get quite a lot done. Even if they get a mineral line, it won't matter too much. Like, the mutas should be able to clean this up. After the drones die. And the drones will die. There was like 20 workers here. Ay. We had 80 workers to begin with. Now we're down to 59. So, yeah, really good amount of damage done here by Guru. He's going to be sending more of his reinforcements across the map. But the reality is that there is no answer to these mutas unless the mines connect. Oh my god. Up. Okay, thank god. There's the 3. If those 3 widow mines connected with these mutas, we would not be seeing this cloud anymore. And Sylor would actually be in some trouble. Unironically. Shaking my head. Regardless, the muta cloud is looking strong. We have the token swarm host, as we typically do have. You know, you wouldn't be a Zerg player if you didn't make a random swarm host every now and then. The MVP. Are we gonna get a locust wave off? Like, I know the mutas are fighting right now, but I'm more interested in the swarm host. Like, I want to see us send off a locust wave. Sylor did just take a mine to the face. Come on, you can do it, Poppy. You can do it. Send it out. Send it. No, the swarm host. Smurge. More mines are going off, by the way. Have we lost any mutas? We have lost 4 mutas so far. If we drag these mutas in towards the mine that's here towards the ramp, then... Oh, we're dragging them. No, we're dragging them in. No. Massive mine shot does go off. Another one as well, and we are bleeding out these mutas. Guru fighting back. Now Sylor still has a bank, but there we go. GG is gonna be called, and Sylor will take the first game. GG. I'm shaking my head. I'm just shaking my head. GG, well played to Sylor. He does take the game in the end. You know, a little bit of flair towards the end. Doesn't hurt anyone, and You know, it typically, I can say from experience as a Zerg player, it doesn't feel good when you're up against mech, especially something like Mass Cyclone. But the reality is that it isn't, like, it's difficult to really make it work, well. I do think that in ZvT, Cyclones are more of a stepping stone or an all-in. Like, there are a lot of all-ins, whether they're against Zerg or even Protoss, that we have seen utilizing the Cyclone. But if you're just amassing it as an army, again, like, we want to I feel like we want to get into tanks a little bit sooner, as well, or even just incorporate more Hellions, just help buffer, just help support the army, just help tank some shots, to keep those Cyclones alive. Regardless, GG, well played. And apparently this is a two-part series. So game 1 was called the Ego, and we could definitely see the Ego at the end with the dancing roaches. Game 2 is called the Fall. So I wonder, is the Terran gonna dance on Sylor this time? Is that is that what's going to happen? I'm curious.